I sure hope you've been practicing your half square triangles because this gal needs a lot of them. I'll have the measurements in the description, but grab some background squares as well as some printed squares. Set everything aside except for your 2 3/4 inch background squares and printed squares. Lay one background square with one print square pretty sides together and make your half square triangles. You're going to need 16 for this one block. Press your half square triangles open with a hot iron and trim them all to 2 1/4 inches square. Now you're going to lay out all your half square triangles in the pattern along with the other squares that have been cut as well as strips. Again, I'll have all those measurements in the description. I like to start in the upper left quadrant here, sewing 2 of the half square triangles together with the corner square, and then the other 2 half square triangles together. And then what I'll do is sew the 2 half square triangle units to the upper part of that larger printed square, and then the 2 half square triangles that are attached to that background corner unit up top, those will be sewn onto the side of that printed square. Everything should be sewn together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you'll see here I'll sew the short sides together first with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure to nest my seams where I can. And then I will go ahead and sew that strip unit up top to the long end of the printed square with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Assemble the 3 remaining outer quadrants. Now you're just going to add a strip to that upper row, putting it pretty sides together with that leftmost quadrant and sewing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then once that's attached, you will attach that outer right upper quadrant to that strip, again pretty sides together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. To make the center of the block, attach one strip pretty sides together with the center square with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then attach the other strip to the other side of that square pretty sides together, again with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Assemble the bottom section the same way that you assembled the top section. Now we're just going to join that center strip row to the top, laying it pretty sides together with the top section and stitching with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Make sure that you are nesting those center seams so that our lines line up straight. Repeat this step to add the bottom section on. Give the block a good press and you have just made the bear paw. This is the last block in our summer sampler series. Be sure to follow along to see how all of these blocks come together to make a beautiful quilt as well as for the pattern release.